Hello everybody, welcome to the Comic and Movie Show. My name is Deshaun, and today I really want to talk quickly about something that's going on with Disney. Now, today was another investors meeting for Disney, and it was a bit of a rough one. Now, for those who don't know, Bob Iger has been running Disney for a better part of almost like 20-something years now, almost 20-something years. He's been running it for quite a while anyways, and Bob Iger is, in my opinion, the best entertainment CEO of all time. Like entertainment, in terms of like the person who deals with entertainment. You know what I mean? I think he's the greatest entertainment CEO of all time. He might be one of the greatest CEOs of all time. And I really mean that from a business side and just a philosophical side. Because from a business side, when Bob Iger took over Disney, Disney was on a rough patch. Honestly, you can look at the Imagineers too. They kind of talk about it there, and obviously in Bob Iger's book that he came out with a couple years back. But Disney was on a rough side. Like, Disney was going downhill. I'm talking Disney was going to get bought by someone. That's how bad things were going for Disney. Bob Iger comes in, he changes everything. I'm talking Disney shares were real fucking easy to buy. I'm talking like if you bought Disney shares in the early 2000s, I'm like, dude, man, some kid working at a McDonald's could have bought Disney shares at that point. But, you know, Bob Iger comes in, he changes the game, he introduced, Bob Iger really changed the game with the introduction of buying IP. Because one of the first things Bob Iger did was work out a deal with, at the time, Apple. I think it was it Apple or was it Apple? Fuck, I lose track of all the stuff. But either way, they bought Pixar from Jobs, because Bob Iger knew Steve Jobs, and he bought Pixar from Steve Jobs. That was a pick, because that was the thing. Like, and when Bob Iger bought Pixar, because Disney Animation was struggling with Lilo and, like, it's funny because all the Disney movies, a lot of movies that I grew up as with a kid, like Treasure Planet, Lilo and Stitch, all that stuff, like that, Mulan, those movies were struggling to get an audience. The Emperor's New Groove, all of those movies are struggling. So that's why Bob Iger had the idea to go buy Pixar. And they bought Pixar to add them to the Disney, and Pixar started doing good. Then of course, many years later, he'd buy Star Wars, he'd buy Marvel, and Bob Iger issued an let creatives cook. Basically, Bob Iger issued an let the cooks cook. Like, we'll handle the financial stuff, we'll handle the business aspects, but let the cooks cook. And that's kind of Bob Iger's philosophy, basically, is to let the creatives create. You know, if there's something big that has to be made, bring it to us, but otherwise, just let the creatives create, let the people run the individual, places. Let the head of Pixar run Pixar. Let Kevin Feige run Marvel. Let the head of Disney Animation run Disney Animation. And if there's something major, something huge that has to be talked about, sure, we'll come down and we'll talk about it. But we're not gonna give too many loops. There's not gonna be too many holes. There's not gonna be too much to jump over. Once you're dealing with one of our divisions, you're dealing with that division. You might not ever see me because I'm not gonna get involved directly. I am a creative myself because I like that stuff. I'm into it. Like, because Bob Iger does go around and he loves seeing how the stuff is made, but he's not that into it. He went and got a executive, Alan Horn. Alan Horn was this big time executive with other companies such as Warner Brothers. He ran the movie division, and he brought Alan Horn on to run this movie division. And together, Alan Horn and Iger would usher in an entirely different level of revenue. Disney trampled, at least as long as I've been, at least for the last 10 years, Disney has destroyed the competition, pumping out billion-dollar movie after billion-dollar movie after billion-dollar movie. And the reason they were able to do that, for the most part, was because they let the cooks cook, and Iger just let people do what they're going to do. It's the reason why, like, sure. Was Disney probably responsible for pushing Pixar to do sequels to movies? Probably, yeah, for sure. But they didn't tell them how to do it. Like, if that's kind of like, that's how Disney works. And like, a lot of people don't quite understand that, but that's how Disney works. Yes, it is yes, they are corporate. They're a corporation, just like any other, just like Warner Brothers, Universal, whatever you want to say, Amazon, whatever. But the way Disney works is that they go, we need this. We don't care how you do it, but we need this. You figure it out. You know what I mean? Like like with the Pixar, we want a sequel to The Incredibles. We want a sequel. All right? Figure it out. After that, it's you. It's up to you to hire who you want and to figure it out, but this is what we want. And they even loosened up on Pixar, because if you noticed, Pixar has been doing more original stuff. They had the last 3 films they've had come out will all be original movies. So even Disney pulled back on that. But like I said, that's kind of been Bob Iger's, methodology to doing it. And of course, there's the classic case of him empowering Kevin Feige, which honestly is which probably is about like 40% of the reason I love Bob Iger. It's because he empowered Kevin Feige. Like, the MCU would not be the MCU if it wasn't for Bob Iger empowering Kevin Feige. Basically saying, Kevin, you don't have to report to anyone but me and Horn. And you know what? You got both of us on speed dial. If you want to make if there's something major that you don't got to report to anybody. Ain't no middleman, nothing. Just me and Horn. Actually, fuck that. You can just report to me. And it freed up Feige. Feige didn't have to worry about anything. He's like, whatever I want to do, I can do it. And and the MCU is what it is. So Bob Iger, to me, chef's kiss. Uncle Bob Iger, he's the greatest entertainment CEO of all time. Now, Bob Iger, it was talked about many times before that Bob Iger was leaving. Bob Iger was leaving Disney. He wanted to retire. There's rattles of him maybe wanting to get into politics. Who knows? Maybe he'll run for president. Who knows? But I tell you one thing, he can't probably get like I said, just seeing the way that man runs business, I'm just like, I like this dude. So, maybe he'll run for president. Either way, he's gonna leave and Alan Horn's gonna leave. And there's a new guy coming in, Bob number 2, as I call him, Bob Chapek. Now, when Bob Chapek was chosen, I had heard, just looking around on the internet, just looking at YouTube, meaning when the big announcement happened, that from people who are fans of Disney theme parks, that Bob Chapek was not totally a good dude. That he was sort of in the same department, not quite as bad, but in the same vein as Ike, in terms of how he looks at financials and how he looks at the business aspects of it. And he doesn't really, he's really a traditional corporate guy. Why? Because Bob is like a creative corporate guy. Bob has more in common with like Walt Disney. Because if you ever looked at like some of the stuff on Walt Disney, yes, there's some terrible things on Walt Disney and the conditions in his workshop, and maybe him being maybe a bit racist and all these other things. But when you genuinely look at the way he ran it in terms of the ethics of it, Walt Disney was more of a creative, creative man. He was more of like a how do we get this to work kind of guy. He was just like, does it work? Is it creative? He was in there. What like Bob Iger is. Bob Iger is he's not always there, but he likes to know, and he's a creative CEO. He's a CEO who understands the process. Kind of like how the person who runs Pixar, damn, I always forget his name, but he's great. He's pretty much directed the best Pixar movies. I think he directed Up, Inside Out, and Soul. So I think it's like Pete Docter or something like that. He is, he's a part of Pixar. He's one of the people in the muck. So him running Pixar makes sense because he's a part of Pixar. He's made Pixar films. He's worked on it. He understands it. That's the kind of guy you want to be your head, the CEO or whatever, someone who knows what's going on. And Bob Iger seems to be someone who's into the creative side of it. But Bob Chapek seems to be a numbers guy. He seems to be a more corporate style, traditional, CEO. And sure enough, at this meeting, they were talking about all this restructuring that Disney is doing. And all the restructuring essentially is to make Disney more corporate. Like I said, out of all the companies, Disney, as funny as it sounds, and I know it sounds bad, and it might sound like me saying like me just, making excuses for it, but as bad as it sounds, Disney was probably the least corporate of the corporates, just because Bob Iger was running and Bob Iger just let the people cook, he let the creators create. Yes, then he's not gonna let people too fucking nuts with it, but he was just like, yeah, you do what you need to do. But the way I'm hearing it is, Chapek's basically making Disney even more corporate. He's putting in people, money people in different spots. He's reorganizing where the money goes and who gets credit for things. He's taking power away from all the other from all the people who run the departments of power, away from people like Feige, like Doctor, people who run Pixar, people who run Marvel, people who run Star Wars. He's threatening that power. He's taking the decisions of how to do things out of their hands. For instance, now we're learning that the decision to move Soul to Disney Plus and to move Luca, or I think it's Luca, to Disney Plus was not made by Pixar. And while in the past, those kind of decisions would have been made by the people running Pixar, because Bob Iger would have trusted them to make the right decision, because that's what he hires them to do. Whereas Bob Chapek is basically saying that the creatives have no power. You just create and we'll do what the hell we want with this. And you don't, and it's starting to sound like, and the person he's about to hire to replace Alan Horn, like I just told you, Alan Horn was a seasoned person who's worked with seasoned man, be the head of an entire movie division, because that's what Alan Horn did. He ran all the movie divisions were under him, and Alan Horn is a seasoned veteran at doing that. He's done it for a decade with Warner Brothers before coming to Disney. So he's someone who knew what he was doing. He knew how to manage it, and under Alan Horn, Disney has made billions of dollars. Disney has made more money in the theaters than they ever have before. But the guy Bob Chapek gets is a loyalist to him, someone who basically ran products. That's what he did. He ran products, is now the head of the movie division. You know what I mean? That doesn't quite make a lot of sense. It seems like there's corporate shenanigans afoot. It may I don't wanna panic, because John Campea actually talked about this. I don't want to panic, but this corporate shenanigans with Bob #2 may threaten the MCU, because Bob Iger already said that Kevin Feige threatened to leave Marvel when a corporate overlord / Ike promoter was starting to, really make doing his job more difficult than he needed it to be. And at this point in Kevin Feige's life, with the amount of things he's done, with the power that he has, it would not surprise me if him and old Bob, him and Bob #2, have a dispute over something that leads to Feige leaving. And that's not good. And it wouldn't surprise me if the difficulty of what's going on leads to a few people leaving. And when that happens, it will lead to the quality of stuff going down. And I don't want to think about it, but just when you hear what's going on behind the scenes at Disney, the question of, could this threaten with the Disney Empire, not only the Disney Empire, but could this threaten Marvel and the MCU and Kevin Feige wanting to be around there? Now, it's not like it's that much better over at Warner Brothers, so it's not like he'd go over there. But at the same time, I don't know. I hope not. I hope Bob Chapek is smart enough, because really, Marvel's my main concern. Marvel's my main concern. But I'm worried that he's going to bring in a bunch of yes men, a bunch of corporate people who are going to start making Kevin Feige's job more difficult, and Feige's going to eventually say, fuck this, I could go somewhere else and do something. And Bob Chapek is, from the noise that I'm hearing, it would probably, unlike Bob Iger, who would go, whoa, hold on, Feige, no, look, screw that, you're the golden goose, we're not going to let you go. Bob Chapek seems like the type of dude, at least from what I'm hearing, who might actually just go, fine, leave Feige. We have the properties anyways. We don't need you. You didn't make the MCU. We made the MCU. And I'm like, oh my fucking God. I am terrified of that. If I wake up tomorrow and fucking see that Kevin Feige is quitting the MCU, leaving the MCU, and Bob Chapek and Disney go out and says, well, we're sad that happened, but we'll find a suitable replacement. If I see some shit like that, I'm canceling my Disney Plus subscription. I am fucking done. I'm like, oh, you know what? I saw the iceberg hopping off the ship. Looks like I'm going on, baby. Because this shit is going south real quick and real in a hurry. Because this ain't good. But hopefully we'll see. At the very least, Feige's, you know, money that he's bringing in will loosen them up. But it's very interesting to know now, Feige did not want to move any of his movies to Disney+. So now we know that he was forced to move them to Disney+. So we'll see. We'll see. I'm hoping it don't go the way I'm thinking it's going to go. But I think, like, things keep going the way. Feige might leave. And if Feige leaves, I'll leave with him. Anyways, thank you guys for joining the Comic Game Movie Show. Please like, subscribe, and please don't let this go down. Bob #2, look, don't be the dick that I think you're gonna end up being, but I got a feeling, man. Like I said, when they hired him, there was a lot of people who were like, I didn't know because I don't know who he is. A lot of people were like, ooh, and I'm like, oh, what are you guys talking about? Now I'm like, ooh, maybe you're right. So thank you guys for joining the Comic Game Movie Show again. Please like, subscribe, and I will see you on the next one. Goodbye.